Okay, let's go ahead and get started. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the TI-30XS Multiview calculator. So we're going to start by turning it on and off. Of course, it's on right now if I want to turn it off. In fact, notice all the green parts above the buttons. If I hit second and I push that, so the on button, it'll actually turn it off. Now if I want it on, I'll go ahead and hit that back and turn it on. Now, one of the things you want to do is make sure your calculator is in what's called Mathprint mode, so that way it's going to look on your calculator the way it would look on paper or in like a textbook. So you want to hit mode, and you want to make sure that it says Mathprint. Otherwise, it would say classic. You want it to be Mathprint. Alright, so now notice quit here. I'm going to hit second quit. And so next thing I want to do is show you the difference between the negative button and the subtraction button, because sometimes you're going to get an error if you hit the wrong one, depending on what you're doing. So if we're putting in -3 minus 4, we'll hit the negative button, -3, and then the -4. And when you hit enter, you get -7. If you hit -3 and you use the negative button, notice you get an error. So anytime you get a syntax error, that's the kind of problem you have. So let me go ahead and clear this. Anytime you want to clear your screen, you can hit clear here. Alright, next let's look at the exponent button. If we want to find 3 to the 12th, we can hit 3, and then this is the caret symbol, and that's for exponents. So 3 to the 12th, when you hit enter, you get 531,441. Now there is one shortcut, like if you do 13 squared, you can actually hit the squared button. So there's a squaring button because we square a lot. Alright, now notice the next problem here. You have -3 to the 4th power and -3 to the 4th power. Now, if you know your order of operations, you know with this one, you're going to multiply 4 3's and then apply the negative, so you're going to get a negative number. Here, you're going to multiply 4 -3's, and when you do that, you're going to end up with a positive number. So notice how the calculator knows. -3 to the 4th power. When I put it in without parentheses, I get a -81. And if I use parentheses and put -3 to the 4th power, I get a positive 81. So it's important that you're putting things into the calculator correctly. And the nice thing here is most of the time what we put in the calculator looks exactly like what's on here. And pretty much I think we can say all the time. Next problem, 5 pi. Now if I hit 5 and pi, my calculator knows to multiply that. But when I hit enter, notice it says 5 pi. That's because it's in that special print mode, whatever it's called. But if you want to change this to a decimal, you can do times 1 point and hit enter. And so now it's a decimal. Same thing with the square root of 15. I'm going to put that into the calculator. So notice the x squared button right above, you have the square root symbol. And so I'm going to do second square root of 15. Now I could hit enter, but I always like to arrow out. Notice this is your arrow button. And when I hit enter, it does the same kind of thing. So if I hit times 1.0 basically, it'll put it in decimal form. So that way I don't have to change modes. Now I'm going to go ahead and change modes. Notice if I put it in classic mode, I'll hit enter here, and I'll do second quit. And now I'll hit second square root. Notice I even have to put it in a little differently now. And now I do get a decimal answer. So let's go back into mode, and let's change that back to Mathprint. Whoops. And hit enter when you are on Mathprint. Okay, so now we'll second quit. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is put in this. This is really an order of operations type of problem. So we put it into the calculator just like it looks. So 6 parentheses 7 minus 5 parentheses, and we're going to square that. and when you hit enter, you get 24. All right, now we're going to move into fractions. So let me adjust my paperwork here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and clear my screen. I like working with a nice clear screen. So first of all, we're reducing fractions. Now this is something you should be able to do on your own already, perhaps with the help of a calculator. But with this calculator, it's actually quite easy to simplify. In fact, I'm going to show you how to do some things with fractions, all of which I hope that you know how to do with hand. But the bottom line is, when we do problems in this course, I don't want you missing the problem, because you're going to be doing some problem solving. I don't want you to miss the problem because of the arithmetic. So as a backup, you've got this calculator to help you check answers. But I'm not saying it's not good. I'm not saying that it's good to just throw it into a calculator and have no idea how to do the problems. I try to teach you both. Let's go ahead and in fact, we already covered fractions for the first test. Actually, I need to move my calculator up just a little bit. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. So 72 over 42. Now notice this is my fraction button. And the nice thing is I could hit that first and put in 72 and then use the arrow button to put in the 42. And again, I like to arrow out, make it look just like it does on paper. And when I hit enter, notice it says 12/7. And then the next one is 340 over 312. So I want to show you something here. I'm going to go ahead and clear my screen. So 340, and then I'll hit the fraction button, and notice it puts that in the numerator. So it saves me one button. And then that's over 312. So this is the kind of fraction that we don't particularly care to simplify by hand. And in this case, this reduces to 85 over 78. All right, let's go ahead and move on to number 9. So we're doing 4/7. So let's arrow over, times 21/8. So 21 fraction button 8, and then hit enter, and we get 3/2. Now we know 3/2 is the same as 1.5. I want to show you some buttons here, and we also know that's equal to 1.5. The button that looks like this, it's basically a fraction to a mixed number. That's right here. You have to hit second, and then it's this piece right here, right above my finger there. And then the other one, F double arrow D, that's when you go from fraction to decimal. And in fact, these go both directions. So first of all, I'm going to hit this button, but first, don't forget, you have to hit second. So second, and it's this button here. You can see the green here. And then hit enter, and you can see that you got 1.5. And then if you want to use this one to change to decimal, again, you hit second and hit that button. And notice now it's 1.5. So if you haven't used those buttons before, you might want to play around with them. All right, why don't you try number 10 and then watch the video. You can pause it here. Let's see. Okay, so let me clear my screen. I'm going to put it in just like it looks, parenthesis, and then you can see the fraction button. Right above that, you have your mixed number button. So second, and notice I have a template for this. So I'll put in the 3, arrow right, and then 4/5, arrow down, into parentheses. Remember, parentheses next to each other means we're multiplying here. And this is times 3/4. Oops, and I made a mistake. See, I put the parenthesis in the wrong place. I did that on purpose. Actually, I was going to do it on purpose later or something else, but I did that one on accident. You can actually hit delete when you type over it, and then arrow out. And so you don't have to start all over again if you make a mistake. You just arrow back, you've got this delete button, and then you just type what you need to put in there. So when we hit enter, notice we do get 57 over 20. And let's change that to a mixed number. So you should hit this button here, but you got to hit second first. And when you hit enter, you get 2 and 17/20. And let's change that to a decimal. Notice again, that's this button, but you got to hit second first, and you get 2.85. All right, let's go on to number 11. So we're adding 7/8 and 5/12. So 7/8, and we're adding this time. And you should know that when you add fractions, you need a common denominator. That was in one of our, well, if you haven't seen that lesson, and you'll see it in one of them. And then let's hit enter, and we get 31/24. So you should be able to change that to a mixed number, 1 and 7/24 and 1.292. All right, let's move on to number 12. All right, so again, I like to clear my screen, and this time I have what's called, well, it's kind of a complicated looking fraction, really. So let's go ahead, and we've got to put a few things in the numerator, so I do want to hit fraction button first. And because I have it in this form, I don't have to use any parentheses like you would on a regular calculator, like if you were in the other mode. So you can put 10 plus 4 times 2. So that's my numerator. Then I'm going to arrow down. And then we have 5 squared minus 4 squared. I'm going to arrow out of there, and you can see it looks just like it does here, other than I used a dot here for multiplication, and up here I used, well, this has the time symbol. And so let's go ahead and hit enter, and we do get 2 on that one. All right, so number 13 is actually a, well, it's one that you may have seen already, depending on which lessons you've already done. All right, so let's see. We're going to clear this, and we've got fractions within fractions. So I'm going to start with the fraction bar. By the way, you should try to do this on your own first, and then watch the video if you get stuck, or either way you can verify that you did it right. So now I need to put the fraction 7/8 in the numerator, and so I need to hit the fraction button again. And so this is 7/8. I just arrow down and then arrow right. Minus 4. So that's my numerator. My denominator is a fraction. It's 5/6. So 5 and then a 6. And then let's divide by 2/3. So 2/3 plus 3/8. So again, you can see it looks just like it does on paper. Let's go ahead and hit enter, and we get negative 21/4. And if you change that to a mixed number, you get negative 5 1/4. All right, we're almost done here. I need to change papers here, so give me just a second. And we've got 3 more problems I want to look at. Whoops. Oh, that's the problem. Let's see if we can do this. Okay, so let me put this here. Okay, so we have 5 to the 20th power. And you should know that's a pretty big number. So when I hit enter, notice I get this here. This is what we call scientific notation. Now, usually we would round this to maybe like 9.5 times 10 to the 13th. All right, I want to show you how to do a multiplication and a division with numbers that are in scientific notation. All right, so let's go ahead and do number 14 here. So it'll be 3.4 times 10 to the 5th power. And oh goodness, I kind of messed this one up. I'm going to arrow back, and I'm going to delete this. And I don't know that I can highlight all this. So, because it needs to be my, or no, I'm sorry, I'm messing this up. This should have a parenthesis. So let me do second delete. So I'm going to insert a parenthesis. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Okay, so make sure you put the parenthesis in the right place here. And we're multiplying this times 5.2 times 10 to the 3rd. And again, make sure you put that parenthesis in the right place. And when you hit enter, you get this big number here. Now, what if I really wanted it to be in scientific notation? Well, you could change this to scientific notation. Hopefully you know how to do that. But I do want to show you that your calculator can help you to check that. All we have to do is hit the mode button, and let's change to scientific on the second one there. Instead of normal, SCI is for scientific. So we'll second quit. And now when I hit enter, it'll take that answer and change it to scientific notation. See how sweet that is? All right, and so I'm in scientific notation mode. I'm going to go ahead and do this one. And so again, you might try it first and then watch the video. All right, so here we go. Let me clear this though. So I'm going to put the whole numerator there. So I want to do 2 times 10 to the 5th. And then arrow down, and we have 3.2 times 10 to the negative 2 power. Don't forget, negative button here. And arrow over. And so when I hit enter, notice it puts it in scientific notation because I'm currently in that mode. So 6.25 times 10 to the 6th. Now if I want to change it to the regular standard notation, then all I have to do is hit mode and go back and hit norm for normal and second quit and hit enter. And notice we get the answer I have here. All right, and so that's your introduction to the graphing to the scientific calculator that we'll be using this semester.